Back over to North American LCS. My name is still David Freak Shirley, and to my right, that's no space station. It's Aiden's Irene Moon.
Okay. I had heard like a week ago or 2 weeks ago that you had a pun lined up for my name.
Yeah. And I brought it out. What's great? What's great? Let's get to our next match. What's great? Let's move on. FlyQuest vs. Immortals. Oh, baby. You ruined my mojo, Irene. I'll never forgive you. We're going to start out actually this time with the starting rosters right off the bat. On the blue side, unchanged is FlyQuest. Balls in the top lane, Moon in the jungle, High in mid. Something you come. Alt tech and AD carry, or bot lane rather, it's called now. Elimination at support with their coach Think Card, who by the way is a twin. Today I learned.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right.
You learned.
Oh yeah, I learned right now. And on the red side, it's going to be Immortals. Nothing new there as well. It's going to be a top lane Flame, Dardoch in the jungle, Pobelter in mid, Cody Sun bot with Olay support, and Coach Hermes.
All right, so we talk about these teams, and I'm going to beat it to death because I feel like playoffs are the most important topic of the next 3 weeks right now. Who's going to make it in? Who's going to fall out? Who's going to hold on to their spots and whatnot? And FlyQuest right now, I think this is a battle to hold on to their spot because they have been losing more and more, and we're seeing teams like Dignitas challenge and climb up the standings.
Yeah, we're seeing like Echo Fox start climbing up. We're seeing Dignitas start climbing up. And so there's all these teams at the bottom. There really isn't a free win anywhere in the standings. So you do have to try very hard, and you can't actually lose your grip on it, or else you are in danger of slipping a bit because we're talking about playoff position where Immortals, you know, they're 6th right now because they actually have the tiebreaker over Echo Fox, but they're so close to FlyQuest, who has 7 wins right now. So it's just so close in the standings that if it's a good week from Immortals, they can actually tie up and actually get to where FlyQuest is in the standings as well. So it gets really difficult.
It's funny, like FlyQuest looks so untouchable, but you know they've been looking worse overall. Their mid to late game shot calling, it's been so risky, and it's not been paying off for the last several weeks. And some of that is they're not having some early game pressure. They're losing lanes as a team. They're down, 15 or so minions at 15 minutes as a team overall. Like FlyQuest are starting to lose lanes, and they can't always just like get that one rotation that keeps them in the game.
Exactly, and that's the thing as well. When they lose the early game, they start having their shot calling, their high risk, high reward shot calling actually come into effect, and it rears its ugly head where they're doing a Baron that gets spotted out and they're behind, and it's their comeback tool, but it actually solidifies the game. So if we actually think about earlier in the split, some of those early wins and all of those early game victories were coming off the back of Moon, who actually has been a very solid performer for them, but yesterday was actually his worst performance so far, having the most deaths he's had in a game this split.
Absolutely, yeah. Moon's been having a bit of a worse time of it. Dardoch kind of as well. I feel like Dardoch has been single-handedly responsible for Immortals wins and Immortals losses. If you just kind of look at his week 6 games, it's pretty much the story of this. But yeah, FlyQuest, we talk about Moon having a harder time of it. And, you know, I feel like the recent meme came out, and it's, you can't throw the game if you're not winning in the first place. So if Moon can't get his good early games, he keeps playing these Shakos and not doing well on it, then maybe it gets a bit weaker for them. But we are into picks and bans, of course, and really the very standard bans have come through so far. Varus obviously top tier.
Yep. And so I expect a Graves possibly to come out between these two junglers and a Rengar as well, or wherever else they're going to start getting their hands on those champions. And you want that priority, take it off the table. I expect Immortals' last ban here to be the Graves to prevent it going over. Could be the Malzahar as well, which is very commonly banned, just overall. But I do think these junglers, you know, they're both very talented, have been performing quite well for their teams, but last week was kind of the exception as well for some of these guys. Dardoch, in particular, he was the death leader last week, and statistically, he actually has had the worst performance of his career, having 2 games against Liquid and Envy, the bottom 2 teams, where he had 8 deaths, which is the most he's ever had in an LCS game.
So, records being set all week long in the LCS, both North America and Europe. Malzahar left up, seems to be the premier support right now in professional League of Legends, and we see it banned all the time. It's going to be a quick first pick here for elimination. It should set up the bot lane nicely.
Yep, Shen gonna be picked up as well on the other side. Lulu was expecting that one as well, because that's jumped up in priority very heavily. Sometimes even first pick or first round here. So now Immortals have a composition that has a good, solid frontliner, and it has somebody for defense on the backline if FlyQuest do take any dive.
We'll see if any more comes through in this one. 10 seconds to go till the next pick must come through in FlyQuest. Now you're gonna actually blind pick. Oh no, sorry, not blind pick. I'm silly. Shen obviously picked in the top lane. I don't see top laners pick so early. I just like my brain went blind pick, but Ball's going to carry top against Flame.
It's also, you get a lot of leeway here because you're doing a marathon. I had to do it last week, and it was my brain was mush.
I had all of 1 hour of game time. I mean, just the insane amount of coordination required.
I'm trying to make an excuse for you.
Yeah, I don't deserve the excuse. No, I appreciate it, but I deserve the flack right now. At least going to go alongside this one. I actually like the early lease, by the way, because with Jay still on the table, most sequential bot lane was being physical damage, and Graves in the top lane, you need magic damage somewhere. And making this Jay sort of be contested at some point, I think is worthwhile. It's going to be, of course, desynced roles, though. Caitlyn Brown's out the bot lane. For Immortals.
And so I assume Jin and possibly Ashe will be the bans here from Immortals in the second round to make sure that they don't give one of those premier AD carries over to FlyQuest. They do play the Mordekaiser, though. Mordekaiser and Malzahar, not so much the double Relic Shield lane that they would want with the combination, but exactly. It could be a Malzahar mid, you know, crazy things have happened on FlyQuest.
That's absolutely true. So Lee Sin, of course, I really do like desynced bans because it lets you sort of look at what teams think the other team think is the best. Of course, no one's surprised that Jin and Ashe at the top of the table for Immortals, though keep in mind, they would have rather played Caitlyn than Jin or Ashe based on what they saw so far in the champ select, so that was a higher priority. Of course, FlyQuest took the Elise, and with Graves off the table, Rengar off the table, Lee Sin is added to the pool, and I wonder what they think is also important for the Immortals jungler. Maybe is it Olaf? Kha'Zix, actually. Okay.
Yeah, Kha'Zix has dropped down and
a lot, yeah.
Kind of fallen into obscurity where you look at junglers and you're like, all right, you know, maybe this is the one that is up there, and then you'll forget about it in the bans and they'll go through, or even the picks. We've seen a few games that have been like that so far. But Elise, I think, is honestly approaching top tier recently, and like especially when next patch comes around. And yes,
Gragas has come back in, and this time as a jungler. I know we were seeing a lot of Gragas top, and a lot of the complaints from top laners like, well, I just feel like I don't have a good late game, and, you know, I don't quite have that same sort of power. And then Gragas jungle just sort of appears, and they're like, right, this champion was good ever. Okay, sure, like Kha'Zix was overpowered, and Rengar was overpowered, but like Gragas has been in like his current state for probably like 5 months or something, and 5 months is overstating it, but it's good to see him come back, though.
And when we're talking about top laners not liking the later power in the jungle, it's all about that early power. It's about getting those body slam flashes, the guaranteed actual CC. And Dardoch, though this is a champion that he's actually loved and had a lot of success on in the past, we know him more for things like Rek'Sai damage, etc., but he was a very good Gragas player at the time, and he can pull off those new combos where you body slam, start the R ahead of time, and then get the stun into the knockback, even though the cast now has the cast time on it.
Sure. Let's see what they're going to do with the next one here. Victor going to be locked in for the mid lane, so FlyQuest do have their full lineup, and actually, it is a champ select without Jace, which surprises me a lot. Immortals, I think, actually need magic damage from somewhere, but they're going to go Katarina, actually. That is exciting. Pobelter bringing out Katarina mid. And there is not a lot of reliable CC on FlyQuest outside of the point-and-click Malzahar ultimate. Everything else is delayed or a skill shot.
Yeah, and the skill shot, like you said, no point-and-click there. And so Pobelter, he could go off. Pobelter has actually not been performing well at all. People have been waiting for him to kind of step back up, but he actually leads mid laners for deaths right now. On the flip side, though, Hai actually leads leads mid laners for kills.
Yep.
He actually, I believe, leads the league for kills right now.
Yeah. Hai is definitely doing a lot, and I really feel like this is a split where Hai has stood out as a amazing individual player. The compliments was always about his shot calling, and to a certain degree, that's actually gotten a bit worse. I don't think FlyQuest are definitively the best macro team in the league, whereas almost every other team piloted by Hai was for the last 3 years straight. I think it's no longer the case, but Hai as an individual player, I think maybe is like top 4 mid laners, just as a general player, like to put them on your team. Hai might actually deserve something about that Hai as far as praise is concerned.
Yeah, and you look at his stats, a lot of them will tell you that story. Highest damage per minute in the league. He's #1 in solo kills in the league. He's #1 in kills in the league. Like, Hai is doing so much for this team. He does get a decent amount of help from Moon, but he is still the catalyst for most of the action in their games.
All right, well, we'll see what's going to happen in this one as we are getting ready to load ourselves into the game. You can see the whole champ select is done, and all the players are ready to go. Moon and Dardoch, players that I want to watch very closely. They have been wildly inconsistent. They have single-handedly carried games. They have single-handedly lost games for their teams. This may as well be a 1v1 in some cases here. How the jungle matchup's going to go might determine a lot here. As we load ourselves into the Rift for game 1 of this series, FlyQuest wanted to hold on to a playoff spot, and Immortals barely cling on a 6th, need to find some wins themselves.
Exactly. If they start getting some wins, it's going to be much needed because their schedule does not get any easier. Immortals has to play in their last 6 games the top 5 teams. They have to play TSM, Cloud9, FlyQuest, Phoenix One, and Counter Logic Gaming. So it's not going to get easier than this. It's actually going to get harder, and it's going to be a real rough time, especially since they lost against Envy and TL, which were supposed to be wins that they were going to pick up if you look at the standings.
Absolutely. They were supposed to win those, and they should have felt comfortable coming in this week, but no longer can they do that. Immortals even got extra time to gel. They played over in Korea at the IEM tournament and,
yeah.
you know, did reasonably well there. They made it to the top 4, and that's cool and everything, but they've just slowed down as time went on, despite the fact that the roster actually got some time to play together. And what's kind of funny is on the opposite side, FlyQuest, I feel like, have slowed down as well. They started out so well. They were like tied for first for a little bit almost, and it just it's kind of been downhill for them.
And I think this happens a decent amount in spring splits, where a team that comes in with synergy or more time ahead of everybody else who just got together, like Phoenix One had a week of scrims ahead of time. Some people are just getting their Korean imports in, etc. Immortals had to take a break after Gyeonggi and actually wait for Olay to fly in, who they didn't have at the very beginning. So these teams in spring split will be very inconsistent. So FlyQuest kind of rode along on the fact that they did have inbuilt synergy, that they had come up from Challenger minus Moon. So they actually had a pretty good idea of, you know, what to expect for themselves. Other teams, though, were still trying to work out that synergy and even the basics.
Okay, and we'll see if more can grow from these squads, though, as, again, yeah, they didn't have the same growing pains as other squads, but here we are into week 7, and you're expecting the level of your competition to be up there. Immortals actually getting a huge fan vote, which surprised me quite a lot. I still feel like FlyQuest are in a better spot overall as a team, but certainly can be anyone's game to win.
Yeah, people aren't having too much faith, though, in the random picks. This is a much more standard draft from FlyQuest.
Yeah.
It does lack a tank in the lineup, though, which could be a problem later on when Gragas and Shen are very big. But it's kind of a Katarina playground, minus the fact that there's 2 exhausts.
Yeah, that hurts it a bit.
Which could hurt her a lot. But I do think Immortals overall just have like a standard composition. They have some defense. They also have a good amount of offense here.
I feel like both teams are reasonably well-rounded. Again, aside from the fact that there's no tank.
Yeah, if FlyQuest is like, we expect crazy things now. It's like we're expecting the unexpected at this point.
They're getting a nice chunk of damage there, and all right, tries to trade well enough against High. He was still going Deathfire Touch. Yeah. Trade in the bot lane, exhausting Ole, forcing the flash out of Lulu.
Gonna turn and take more damage to try and
30 gold.
He kind of stays.
Maybe not worth.
Maybe he tries to stay inside of experience range, but it's definitely unnecessary damage. I think Ole should kite back a little bit more, but he didn't want to give up position in the lane. And Moon, because they had spotted Gragas on the right side, Moon is actually going to go around here, take this out, and Dardoch will probably do the red and be none the wiser here.
Interesting. So Dardoch's jungle pattern was Raptors into the bottom jungle, back into the top jungle, and it gave Moon enough time. And actually, wow, they managed to spot it. Dardoch had his camera up enough to ping, hey, Elise is here for sure. I saw a Krug split over there in the Fog of War. The Moon gets that satisfying 60 gold Spiderling and is ahead in the jungle. Elimination dodging the Caitlyn Q, that's really important. But it is a lane lead right now, and significantly, by the way, for the Immortals duo, they are blasting by a lot right now. And it's interesting because we talk about Immortals doing interesting lanes and doing kind of silly things, and ooh, they're picking Mordekai's, but they didn't win lane. But if their meta lane looks like this, Mordekai's looks way better.
Oh,
now,
man.
Sivir loses lane to Caitlyn. Like, I'm not going to lie, Caitlyn Lulu's super abusive, and it's really hard to win. But it still looks worse than all their Mordekaiser lanes.
Yeah, they pinched this lane really hard, got rid of the Jhin, the Ashe, the Varus, all banned away from Immortals, and made sure that they had an okay matchup here. And it's definitely one that is very favored for them. The Malzahar doesn't really get to do much until 6. And we'll see Dardoch on the bottom side. Moon is actually going to blast cone into him.
Hello! Body slam barrels there. Unlucky for Moon. Lots of damage coming across. Forcing the flash out, though. Dardoch does retreat, and Moon gets the rest of the camp. But whew, that could have been scary.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage there. He had the barrel prepped just for doing the camp. And as soon as Moon came over, popped the barrel, body slam in. Half HP at least.
Moon happened to walk right into that one. And that was unlucky. But, of course, the fact that the duo lane was there, turned it all around, and FlyQuest doing okay. Early recall for elimination gets him the refillable potion and pieces of what will eventually be a Frostfang. Altec just spell shields and peacemakers, and they'll be okay on this one.
Yep.
But yeah, Altec has gone through all 3 of his potions already. Codyson has not used his, and he went Doran's Blade, so I mean, it's going to be a long road ahead for Altec.
Yeah, it's also double Warlords in the bottom lane here. It's the slightly nerfed one, not the one on 7.5, though.
No, it's Fervor Sivir.
Oh, sorry, Fervor, yes.
Yeah, it's Warlords Caitlyn, which seem to be less benefited by the Fervor buffs, but actually, yeah, I know it feels bad to not have Sustain in a bad lane, and to be honest, maybe you do take the weaker Keystone just because of the matchup, but it does mean Altec will have a bit more damage as time goes on.
And the bottom lane still hasn't equalized yet. The mid lane is approaching that. The Deathfire Touch Victor has been getting the better of this Katarina, but not to the point that she's actually starved of CS. She'll pick up 5 here if she perfectly CS's them.
No, he's actually gets the Shunpo, but yeah, there we go. High goes for the damage, and it's going to deny the cast minions away from Pobelter, who is still chugging through potions and has already recalled once to stay alive in this lane.
Yeah, and bought himself a Null Magic Vandal, so he'll have a good sustain. Dardoch on the bottom side of the map,
though. Dead. Is he in range for Body Slam Flash? Not just yet. That'll block the Body Slam. Nicely done. And he staggers the spawns. You have to anyway. There's a cooldown now, but does not get the set.
High actually gets pushed out of lane, so Pobelter will have a bit of an advantage here. And he still has both of his summoner spells. High down the exhaust, which is his main defensive tool against this Katarina.
Yep, Pobelter doing a good job using the Katarina ulti to get a big chunk down, and feels pretty good. Game is still very close in gold. Moon gonna absorb the mid lane wave. Intelligent to do so, but it does give Dardoch the clear signal to counter jungle. Of course, there's only one camp to steal. It's on the opposite side of the map, so might not do much for him. Tied game right now. The junglers have been trading blows back and forth. On an individual level, Moon is 150 gold up. So props to Moon for a better played early game. You may expect that with a priority on Elise, but still, making it happen is good. Immortals, of course, hard crushing the bot lane, and Ball is actually doing pretty well against Flame up top.
Yeah, the counter matchup for the Gangplank, where if he survives the early parts of the game, like levels 3, etc., and starts getting those barrels and have a faster tick timer and being able to combo them and get more gold, he'll be good to go against the Shen, which really can't do much against him.
All right, well, Dardoch looking to just drop a ward and says, ooh, that's going to get swept away before too long, but
he's going to
wanted to give some vision help.
Yeah, stick around a little bit, and Flame can play to that side. So Dardoch will back, but there's still the threat that he's sticking around trying to bait. I know you want to clear that ward. So Moon will have to go do the blue buff, hand it off to High, and then he'll come towards the top to clear that ward, or at least cover while he clears the ward.
And here comes the blue buff handoff. See if Moon can do it properly. Will he steal? Good job, High. There's always a chance. Red buff was on it.
That's true. Interesting that. So Moon is preying off of the fact that Dardoch will be handing off the blue buff on the opposite side of the map.
Will he even hand it off, or is he just going to be doing it on spawns? I mean,
he's probably doing it himself, because it's a Katarina mid. You don't get AP from it anymore. So yeah, he's going to pick it up for
10 CDR. That's kind of useless. But hey, good job by Moon. Does get the counter jungle. It looks like actually a lot of the reason was there was a deep aggressive ward from his prior Tracker's Knife and saw, ooh, okay. Rapids have spawned. Dardoch's not here. I'm going to make this play. Nicely done by Moon. And you're right, Dardoch does get his blue buff, so those all line up the same.
Playing to his safe side because Gragas is in that jungle.
Now she's going to have to jump again pretty soon. Shen ulti to keep him alive. And here comes the play on the High. Flashing forward. Taunt is there. Counter engaged. It's still going to be first blood through to Flame. Moon can't get much more. Has to repel. That was a well-aimed explosive cast, but you're right there back in this one. Double kill for Flame. Beautifully played by Immortals.
Flame with the global shows up, and Pobelter actually bought enough time there. And that was interesting because Moon was trying to prey on the fact that his strong side of the jungle was that left side. So Pobelter was playing to it. Moon actually went towards it and almost got him, but then he jumps away and buys enough time with the Shumpos and then re-engages.
Yeah, he even flashed forward to make sure the taunt target was there. Really beautiful stuff. We can watch this again.
Yeah, so because Dardoch's in the jungle there, Pobelter, this is the safe side, jumps across, which is really unexpected that you do that, because you expect to still stay on that side. But it just turns out, gets Flame to use the ultimate. Moon, appropriate there. Dardoch definitely on point with those casts so far, just that one, but looked like it was going to land true.
I want to point out, it was smart of Dardoch to drop turret aggro early. He could have tanked an extra turret shot if he wanted to, but there's an Elise coming from the rafters. If she Qs you, you die. And so Dardoch kind of balancing, holding aggro with not giving a kill away on the refresh. Very intelligent, actually. Really, really well done. And now Immortals getting to take away some map control back, and Pobelter now actually winning overall with the CS lead and those ward kills.
Yeah, and he's just purchased magic resist after magic resist items so far. Katarina has so much in terms of base damages that her typical builds don't even include things like Death Cap or Ludens, etc. You go for like Rylai's, Leandri's by the end of the game. So you're okay with building items like the Gunblade and the Void Staff and just relying on base damages, and the fact you get so many Shumpo casts, so many of your passive resets off of picking up the daggers.
Yeah.
And so you can buy all this magic. You can make it so that the victor loses these trades. Just off of that.
Yeah, I'm glad she's not like full Sunfire Cape status, like old like 2014 top lane Katarina, but you're right. She is half and half. It's like old Diana builds, essentially. Nice jump in there by Flame. And Balls, despite the fact that his laner left the lane, actually, having a pretty hard time now dealing with this. I think it's a lot done there.
And 2 kills ends up doing a lot for the Shen in the top lane. First blood on top of it as well. And now Dardoch just holding on his bottom side. They want to get control of the bottom side here, Immortals do. So they've already had this gigantic CS advantage, but they want to turn that into an Infernal soon. And you do that by actually getting this bottom turret, by applying pressure there. But Dardoch, his route is going to take him to the top side. This is actually Moon coming through, and they've backed off. They're actually clear.
Wow, Cody sends Summoner heals to give a bit of extra move speed to his Lulu to guarantee they get out of range. That was probably more than was needed. I understand they're respecting a Flash Elimination ult and a Gangplank ulti on top of that, so, you know, it's debatable, but the way it pans out, the Summoner heal was not needed from Cody's son. A little bit too risk-averse there. And it's Immortals, though, either way, holding on to an 1,800 gold lead. Those 2 kills on Flame feel pretty good. Balls, by the way,
yeah,
risk-averse as well. Early Jarum's Fist, not actually building towards the rest of the Trinity Force just yet, but you can see just how good Flame feels with his 130 armor. It just jumps into anything he wants.
Yeah, delays his build. He also has no boots versus tier 2 boots, and now he's going to get dove top lane is what it looks like here. They have pressure. Moon's going to have to run up. It's not fast enough on the wave clear from the Shen for Dardoch to stick around.
All right, so nothing going to happen just yet. And it's FlyQuest licking their wounds from the early game. Now, it's interesting, actually, looking at some of the stats from these teams before the match. FlyQuest typically lose in CS, and Immortals typically win in CS. The funny thing is, though, FlyQuest is typically ahead in gold, and Immortals typically down in gold from things like kills and turret takes. Oh, a quick one! As Dardoch gets the steal away, dances a little bit, and there's the taunt. No way out for Moon. Goodbye. He has waned again. 0-2 on the Elise. The chase is there for Altec. Wibsy's not going to be enough. Somebody who was already burned. He should be a Q in range. There's the shot. Cody's son does not juke it. And I bet you he wishes he had the Thunder. Elimination knocks him over the wall. He's going to look for a bit of a disengage as Hai is there with Pobelter. Now, it is worth noting that the initial cast of Hai's ulti will stop channels. It is a momentary silence, but now Altec just beset under the turret. Quick kill comes through to Ole. Thunderlord secures it now when the chase is back in. Hai, Ignite is on, can't survive it. Pobelter pulls the trigger and shoots him down.
He's getting fed. The early CS deficit doesn't matter at all. We talked about Hai having really good lane phase and actually playing individually well, but Pobelter, this seems like a turnaround performance from him so far. This is a game where he's off to a great start and has a CS advantage in lane that, you know, really shouldn't early on.
Yeah, huge props to Pobelter. Immortals actually gonna take first turret as well. A turnaround match for them, a turnaround game. 4,000 up. They are slaughtering this early game. One of the best they've ever had.
Yeah, and Dardoch gonna actually prey on Balls up top here. He gets a flash.
All right, gets away with it. That is still someone spell down. That's still advantage. And with Dardoch's time, Immortals really doing a great job. And the funny thing is, it's not just Dardoch, it's everyone making good plays.
Yeah, actually, it's a lot Flame with the Shen showing up.
Yeah, he's...
Dardoch, this is actually the first time that he really gets kill participation on anything, I believe. I believe this is his first kill here. He's the one who picks it up. Otherwise, Dardoch doesn't have an assist to his name. He's 1-0-0. He has been around to help, but it's been mostly Flame and Pobelter so far in this game. Whereas his bottom lane is just an advantage for Cody's son that got turned around by the Gangplank ultimate. When you're using your Shen global to arrive at a fight on one side of the map, the GP can freely use his global on the other, and that turns around a fight. Ends up being a 1-for-1 there, but then Altec gets...
Well, then Altec walked back forward. I think he wanted to like fight a ward or something. I think he maybe misclicked, but he had no reason to walk forward there.
And then...
just damage.
Yeah.
Exhaust was down, ult was down.
Yeah.
He knew the tools were out. And I mean, I think some of this feels like Hai misjudging his damage output. Like, I know Katarina lost to magic resist, but you're sort of going to kill her with the exhaust when she's at 80% HP when he popped the ulti down. But quick rotation by FlyQuest, going to actually equalize the turret score pretty nicely. And that will be that one going down, so something going back to their favor. But it is still Immortals with a heavy lead.
Yeah, and like you said, misjudging the damage, I think, is a very good way to put it, because he's running with like 65 extra magic resistance from his items that early on in the game. It was a rushed Negatron Cloak, the Dark Seal to try and get some AP and stack up and take care of a little bit of that lack of damage if he can get snowballing. But then the Merc Treads on top of it, like there isn't even too much in this game that Merc Treads will actually affect, right? It's like a Elise Cocoon and then some slows. There's some slows that you reduce the duration of. Doesn't work on suppressions or anything like that. So the silence also, I think, is also another one. But in all reality, it's like, okay, it's the best boot buy here for the lane matchup. Purchases them very early on and wants that mobility in the lane to continue to close the gap. And you can see 2 levels up, and he's just a very threatening Katarina that Hyde, even though he was zoning him off of the wave originally, is now the one getting zoned himself.
Yeah, it's going really heavily Immortals' way. Quick Inferno Break pickup as well. Last hit goes to Pobelter, the Dragon Slayer himself. And yeah, it's a 3,500 gold lead for the red team. And honestly, exactly what Immortals needed, because as you mentioned, the remaining schedule is almost impossible for Immortals.
I believe it's the hardest left in the NALCS.
I'm pretty sure it is. And they came off a week where they lost to number 9 and 10. And now they're beating number 4. And that is crucial. Again, I'm going to beat it to death. Playoff standings are insanely important right now, and Immortals are on the cusp of losing their spot in playoffs. This win means a ton in keeping it.
Yeah, exactly, because they already have the tiebreaker over Echo Fox 2-0, so they are technically 6th place and Echo Fox is 7th. So that means as we have less and less games to play, hold on.
A lot of damage coming through to Pobelter, but look how much damage he's got. He's going to jump back in onto it. They're going to bring a Shen delivery. He gets the solo kill before it even happens.
Gets another reset.
Pobelter's still alive. Moon can't get anything done. Dardock's coming Ole as well. Pobelter's still alive. Another shield. Balls can't kill it. 3 for 0. Triple kill to Pobelter.
He's still alive. He doesn't go down there. 3 for 0, like you said. Pobelter is popping off.
Oh man, Gunblade regen, 800 health worth of shields. Let's go. Pobelter's feeling good.
And it's like, it's the best person to have it on too. He's the snowball member. You get it on your tanks, it's not that great. But Caitlyn's not even anywhere in sight. Doesn't get any assists on that either. It's the turnaround there. It's the shields that they're able to offer him, the defensive power for this person who needs to snowball. And now he's got 10 stacks on his Dark Seal.
Oh, he's looking for an 11th, even though it doesn't stack that high. What? There's a knockback. Beautifully aimed by Dardock. The slow is there. The flash chase for Ole just to make sure he can get some stuff done. And takes the kill credit. Absolutely. 2-0 and 1. Cody Sun got an assist. Way to go, buddy. MVP bot laner.
He has actually been winning that bottom lane very hard. The matchup has just been so difficult for Altec and Elimination to actually leverage anything in. And they counterpicked themselves with the Sivir into the Caitlyn, but they also got counterpicked by the Malzahar and the Lulu. So it's just a winning bottom lane for Immortals in 2 senses. So they continue to push that. And yeah, he got an assist.
Yep. All right, Cody Sun. Money on the board. 26 CS up. Fight for the Raptors. Ooh, Moon wins that one. Beautifully. Wow. What a smite. Oh, baby. Down 2 levels under Dardock, though. Moon is actually getting destroyed now. He tried to make some early plays, couldn't quite convert them, and now Immortals is walking over this game.
Yep, same thing with Pobelter versus High. High is 2 levels down. Pobelter, highest level in the game, and nobody can really 1v1 him, so they're going to put him in side lanes and have him rotate to objectives like this. This blue buff is going to get leashed. Everybody's going to start showing up here, but you have to be conscious that Flame still has teleport. Balls is actually close to having his cannon barrage available.
Pretty fortunate the blue buff reset, ran out of patience, and goes over to High. But it's such a small consolation prize in a game they're losing by a lot right now. FlyQuest hoping for the way in. Dardock can now just start living in that FlyQuest jungle. He tried to steal blue, didn't happen. Fine, I'll try to steal red. Whatever, get off me. Takes the red, this there. He's gonna find Moon, or a Spiderling, from Moon.
Still finds him.
Yep. They see each other, they cross paths, they say, I see you, I know what you did last summer. Very old movie. Most of you have never seen it.
Oh man, we're getting to that point. Like I just had my birthday and I'm like, oh man, what was happening 10 years ago? Hold on, High.
Oh, High, taking a bunch of damage down. He goes into the turret. Suppression means nothing against Dardock. Barely even lost HP. It doesn't matter for anybody. Immortals can dive any turret they want. They've got too much gold. The money bags are huge. Tons of damage against Altec. Cocoon not quite going to land. Dardock healed up by Cody's Sun. Summoner heal, second support. Thanks very much, buddy. Doing the best he can.
Now they're going to keep sieging mid here. They're going to have Flame on the top side push out. And here comes the siege. Cody Sun with the trap max first.
Yep. He's bringing that utility.
Yep. It's been 4 points into the Piltover Peacemaker and 4 points into the trap.
Yeah.
Caitlyn should be putting some points into the Peacemaker early.
Yeah, I like 3 to 4 points Q and then you max trap after.
Because that's the time when you're going to start grouping up with your team, when turrets have started going down. And how bad does it feel to like show up when turrets have gone down and you're like, sorry guys, I got rank 2 traps. So this is my bad. But right here, Dardoch, so great. I was talking about how he's actually very proficient on this Gragas, even though it got changed. It's harder to execute the barrel combo on after you engage, but it's no problem for him.
Yep, of course, being flashless helps as well, but yeah, it just means that, look, sometimes people can flash away from your ulti. If they don't have flash, you knock them back or into the wall anyway, and everything's just fine. And look at that, Immortals. The funny thing is, they don't often win with these leads because their mid to late game has been bad, but this is an almost insurmountable advantage. This is one of those things where I'll bring up a point of drama in the community. There is Weldon Green, who's with G2, formerly of TSM, who's talking about how 90% of the game is between minutes 20 and 40. And that if you have early game gold leads don't really matter. Well, he says gold leads under 3,000 don't really matter. This is a gold lead of 7,000. Where everyone knows that's a massive early game lead that you could almost walk it through at that point. And Immortals are in that sort of echelon where, as long as you don't misrepresent the argument, everyone agrees this is a huge early game lead that most teams can close out.
Yeah, there's a breaking point where your early game was so good that your 20 to 40 minutes really doesn't matter, and you have to royally screw it up.
Yeah.
So,
which happens.
The whole idea of, do we train to get so damn good at those first 20 minutes that we don't have to train late game as much? Or do we train the late game and then we'll end up in situations like this where we're 7,000 gold down and our training doesn't matter, right? And that's why it's such a back and forth thing, because you're arguing on different methodologies of training.
Right, and you're arguing for diminishing returns on, expected value basically, right? Like, and yeah, it's a topic that we probably don't have to get into too much more here, but
I will say
it is an interesting discussion to talk about early game training versus late game training and how much it matters on both sides.
Yeah. I will say though, in order to train your late game, you have to play the early game. So in a zero-sum world, you don't reset the game at 20 minutes in scrims, and people have actually stopped doing that. So everybody will play it through, even if it's a losing game, unless it's one that's like this level. I actually think you get to around this point, it's 50-50. Sometimes I have seen teams just forfeit it.
Yeah, a game like this is one of those GG at 20s where it's like, do you really play for the 5% of getting the comeback? And in this case, of course, you're in a match, and yes, you do, of course. You hope for that 5% where somehow that thing happens and Immortals royally screw up and the explosive cast knocks you out of the Katarina ultimate and Lulu ulted Baron somehow, even though she can't. And, you just hope that,
Smite, no.
You hope you pick Mordekaiser and you get a game remake. I don't know. That was the Reddit thread today.
There was no ban. He didn't do it. The master
Unlucky,
master plan's completely ruined.
That page got turned out of the notebook. I don't know what happened, but this is Immortals. And at this point, it's check the boxes, right? It's like, okay, take the Drake on cooldown. Like, if it takes you a while, that's maybe a black mark on your luck. You should win this game pretty quickly. You're hoping for a sub-30-minute win, but take the Drake on cooldown, stack those up, get the stats, double Infernal Drake, great for a snowball lead. Make sure that the Elder Dragon that will eventually spawn this game is stronger. And again, Immortals, check the boxes. You've got map control. Any of your tanks can case check a brush and live. Keep the wards up. Don't give anything away. If Immortals play this game right, they give up 0 turrets and 0 kills left in this game. And that's the goal, right? Like, you train for that at least. Test yourself that you can play it right.
It's going to mean more and more as they have to play those top teams that will punish them.
Yeah.
And so they have to learn the punishes themselves. Now it's about an 8,000 gold lead. It's increased as they shoved all these waves into the tier 2s. And Immortals are taking control of the top side jungle where around Baron is. No Infernal Drake for the next few minutes. So this is actually completely correct in terms of just macro and how you play it. Starve them of vision at the Baron pit. Go between top and mid. Have your other split pusher, the one with teleport and the double globals, on the bottom side of the map. And since he's in a good spot too, Titanic Hydra, so this will just constantly be a push in from Flame too. Yeah. They have control on all 3 lanes.
And I like the higher damage Shen build. The team is winning. You want to add more pressure. I think you don't do this if you're the team 8,000 behind, but in this case, I think it's absolutely the right buy. Looking for the dive now. Pobelter just pushing high. Exhaust is on. The turnaround is here, but look at the shields. Look at the healing. Nothing even done. Pobelter leaves the fight with more than he started thanks to Wild Growth. And it's Dardoch tanking out of the turret, but does give away the kill. That time it was over-aggressive, turned around by FlyQuest.
Hold on, though. That's the jungler here. We'll see what FlyQuest ends up doing, but they don't have their waves shoved out. They've been constantly under pressure, and that's one of the things that when you have a 1-3-1 split push, it's the beauty of it, because you lose a fight, and you actually aren't going to lose much for it. They take so long for them to push the wave from their tier 2 all the way back out and get to the turret. So by the time Dardoch respawns, they may have already mounted a defense here on Immortals that prevents these waves from even going past the halfway point.
Yeah, so nothing, I guess no harm, no foul. It's a yellow card, I guess, in this case. And, Dardoch has to take a quick minute on the sidelines here, but
still a foul.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It wasn't exactly the right line for it. Thank you for correcting me, Cyrene. You keep my sports metaphors honest. It's a bogey, but they're still, you know, in the lead by several strokes, so they're okay. Yeah, see? You like that one.
Yeah.
We brought up the golf.
Pobelter, yeah, jumps in, has the dagger stone, and just so much defense. You can see Olay throws the wild growth. Pobelter walks out pretty much unscathed by that. And Dardoch's the one who looked like he didn't even want to fight it at first. He was kind of like zoned him off the turret. Dardoch didn't even get onto high there. So he kind of got sold out.
Yeah. Well, and that was what I was talking about, though, is how good is Immortals like game shot calling? We saw the stat. They have a 64% win rate with the lead at 20 minutes. Now, those aren't all 8,000 gold in 20 minutes, so it's not like they have, you know, that chance of winning this game. But the question was, how clean is your end game? You are ridiculously ahead right now. Teams will forfeit games against you with this kind of a lead, and you're giving away kills in a turret is not okay.
Yeah, and I think it gets even worse as time goes on because this is a gangplank you're talking about top lane. This is only going to get much stronger as the game goes on. You have a squishy Katarina that if you jump in, these double exhausts may be able to take care of her. So the longer you delay, you know, the less these items matter, the less levels matter, etc. And Balls has pretty much gone through the laning phase. The least messed up member here from FlyQuest. He hasn't really had much attention on him.
Got a positive KDA. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
he's got some tank killing, right? Lord Dominic's is in.
Yep, went for their Dominic's, the Sterix as well, so he has the multiplier on the Trinity Force Spellblade passive. So it's a 300% when he's underneath
yeah,
a certain threshold.
Sure. Definitely some meaningful damage here. We'll see if he can keep it moving. Of course, with the Lord Dominic's health conversion to damage nerf, the Sterix actually fights him a little bit. He doesn't do as much as he would to people like Dardoch and Flame. But it's Pobelter split pushing, covering the turret health bar with his own, but he takes it down all the same. And wow, he broke Flame's shield. Woo! Tons of damage, Balls.
And that's going to be a check for him, too. Now it's, what does he go next? I don't think lethality is the answer. I think he actually goes for an Infinity Edge. I think you start going crit build here.
You hope you farm 7,000 gold and get IE Phantom Band, so good luck with that, but...
IE Static, IE Phantom, either is fine.
Probably Phantom, it's cheaper a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a super tough game ahead for FlyQuest. Immortals, they still are in the driver's seat. Here comes the play for the Baron. Prior tower dive slip up notwithstanding, it's still 10-2 in kills.
DPS on Baron is not high at all. I feel like they're instead fishing for a fight or a pick here, and it's like a half-hearted Baron. They're not using as many abilities. Dardoch is half HP, and now...
Okay, good taunt, good knockup. Dardoch running out of health, though, could be trapped, but he's going to stay alive for now, and the kill comes through on a 1. A trade kill onto the jungler, but it's a 3-for-1, actually, as the fight begins. And as FlyQuest forced to run away, no jungler means they could re-engage for Baron, and they do.
Oh boy, so the DPS will be down a little bit. They'll probably actually commit more to this. So it'll actually be about the same, but they don't have that burst. They don't have that smite. Balls is about to set up barrels here too.
Well, maybe, but it's going to be pretty difficult. Flame wants in, High's dead. High is taunted, High is gone. Barrels mean not enough, of course, Pobelter. Durable as he needs to be, but it does stop the Baron, so I really can't flame High for the play. It does stop the Baron. But that fight was a 4-for-1.
Yeah, and I'm almost convinced here that Immortals never really wanted the Baron. They wanted those kills. They wanted that 10,000 gold advantage. And that's how they're going to push it and go for the Infernal Drake.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like they were committing too much to the Baron. They were like, let's just do it slow and steady. And it was never like a burst or a desperation by any means. It was calm and collected to try and get the fight as opposed to the 50-50. Because I know Dardoch doesn't like taking 50-50.
Sure. It's one of the nice benefits of a 2-tank comp. One tank can absorb Baron and say, yeah, don't worry, I take no damage. The other can frontline for the team fight like this.
I will say Dardoch is more magic resistance based right now, so he is taking a decent amount of damage from this Baron. So he jumps in, takes a lot of damage there, and Pobelter, there's nothing really interrupting there, because High, doesn't have the ultimate on him in time, and they tried to blow up Dardoch, so it just seemed like they were trying to get a kill and get out. It was really, really strange there, because FlyQuest, it wasn't going down too quickly, but they panicked.
Yeah, you're right. They had a bit more time to play with. I think they wanted to fight maybe on top of the GP ulti and use that for a bit more damage. And yeah, it maybe could have been cleaner, honestly. And that's been the consideration we've had against FlyQuest, where their first 15 minutes often looked pretty good, but then Moon stopped playing so well. And then their end game started looking worse as well, where they're doing all these desperation Barons, and they're just... It just feels like the team is kind of falling apart a little bit. And of course, we're in a game now with a 10,000 gold deficit, so, you know, at a certain point, you give them a pass for the rest of this game. But Immortals managed to get the 4-for-1. And they're going to look for closing out this game, of course. Next Dragon will be Elder, which will be a good game-ending buff potential. Baron's still available as a play. And as soon as Flame's ulti is back up, which is now, they can do that same setup.
pinging onto the Baron. They have control of the area. Immortals are going to try to just start it up. This one may actually just be a rushdown. Yeah, this one's a rushdown. You can see just the DPS difference there. Now it's okay, hold on. They know that we're doing it.
Yeah.
Scryer.
I don't think they want to fight for this
now
fight.
They're slow
Back. Moon's going to repel towards the pit. Here comes the team fight. Knockback kill and elimination. Looking for a bit more. Moon's going to get taunted. Moon's going to go down. Pobelter is godlike. He's killing everyone he needs to. 7-0 and 6. And there we go. The clean re-engage onto the Baron. Cody Sun survived the fight. And now he's going to life steal and regen with the Ocean Drake. And that's going to be a no contest Baron kill at a certain point. Not even a chance. It's just a counter push here for FlyQuest. They set Sivir to mid lane. They finally got one back, but Immortals managed to play the Baron bait well twice in a row.
Yeah, they lost so many lanes on FlyQuest's side that they honestly can't shove anything out. Even when they're in their 3-on-3, they're 1-on-1 and 1-on-1. It just ends up being one where Immortals just have more vision in the jungle. And as you can see, Hai's just going to try to shove these out and give them a small breath, fresh air, and just try to relieve the pressure that's on them, because all these waves are shoved in. Flame is bottom, shoving that wave in. Middle is going to equalize in the center, and then this top one's still going to be around tier 2. So it's perfect for Immortals to go for something like this. They actually pull off again, and they instead go for the fight, and which I think is right. They're not in a point where you have to go for a 50-50. They're way stronger in these team fights right now, and they're going to be stronger for the considerable future.
Yeah, FlyQuest, I feel like, could have had a better game if their gold was closer. You actually saw in that replay, Cody Sun dropped to 15% just from Gangplank ulti. Imagine they actually have the space to do anything at all in that team fight. Maybe they get some of those kills back, but Immortals at this point is walking it in. Not as fast as the team Dignitas won, but 32.5 minutes in, mid lane inhibitor will be going down after that turret falls. And there's really no point. Does FlyQuest have a chance at fighting? The knockback is there onto Hai. Never actually does flash away. And the kill's going to be next on Altec. Trying to run. And the flash not going to be the damage for Cody Sun. Doesn't get a crit on that one. So it's going to be the disengage quickly. The FlyQuest still lose their mid laner. And the base is, of course, cracked.
Yep. Super clean so far from Immortals. Hasn't been really any big mess-ups at all. Dardoch, once or twice, that's it, when he went on a late call. Look at that. Pobelter. Showboating.
Just killing everything. Double kill right there underneath the Nexus turrets. And Pobelter, who was the death leader in the mid lane, actually picks up several kills and goes unkilled at all. Deathless in this last game here. Sorry, first game I should say, but the very obvious 1-0 in this one. FlyQuest never really stood a chance. All the ganks went the way of Immortals, and now it's just all about walking it in. Rounding the bases, walking into the home plate. 1-0 Immortals. They were supposed to the whole way throughout the early game, and they did so.
Yep, found that gank in the middle, found the turnaround, Flame on the Shen. Big props to him there, because he definitely turned that around. And Immortals, clean game.
Smile on their faces. This was supposed to be a very hard match for them, and there are still more to go. And Immortals really made that game look easy. The early game worked out beautifully. Pobelter and Flame, that duo was absolutely massive. There was a supporting cast from the other 3 members, but it really felt like Pobelter, Flame, and 3 wards just making so many big plays. I mean, honestly, that's how I feel about how this play in this game happened. Pobelter and Flame, the turnaround 2 for 0 in the mid lane, where Flame got a double kill and just walked over his lane from there. The bot lane triple kill for Pobelter, where he and Flame did the heavy lifting. And yeah, there was some help from the Summoner Heal, some help from the Lulu and all things like that, but those 2 were massive. They were unkilled. I mean, they combined for 14 of the kills just in the kill score between the 2 of them. Those guys did so much work.
Yeah, man. Player of the game, Flowbelter. Between both of them, just combine them. No, but it is something that's going to have to require a bit of deliberation, because it's very close. Pobelter did pop off with the assistance of Flame.
I mean, I don't see a world where it's not one of those 2. Like, I know we don't typically talk about player of the game before we actually call it, because we usually talk to the analyst desk as well, which, you know, we'll talk to them in a minute. But, I mean, those 2... Look, Dash, if you think it's something else, you're wrong. Mark and Scar, you will also lose respect from me if you don't vote for either Flame or Pobelter. But you're right, it could be either one of those 2. Those guys popped off, and it was funny because coming in, I was like, well, is Dardoch going to tilt or is he going to play well? Is he going to hard carry or is he going to feed? Pobelter's playing badly, Flame's mediocre, the bot lane's mediocre. It's like on hit or miss, you know, flip the coin for a 2-faced Dardoch. And instead, it was just Pobelter popping off and Flame having a great game also.
Yeah, and I really like that suit for them as well, because if Pobelter's able to take control of the game, it's a different suit from him that we haven't seen in a while, because he's been struggling. He's been somebody they've had to actually carry a bit. And so he gets to have this game that will boost his confidence, make him feel a little bit more like that old Pobelter, see if that's back. But also Flame, He's a guy that's like, why isn't Flame there? Why hasn't he TP'd in? What is he doing? And the Shen seemed like a really good pick for him, too.
Very good ults this game from Flame, absolutely. So, a Game 1 win for Immortals. Well played. Let's throw it down to our analysts to see what they make of that Immortals win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Immortals getting the victory here over FlyQuest in Game 1. Really dominant game here. We saw the Katarina get rolling, and that spells disaster for FlyQuest. So instead of analyzing the entirety of the game, I want to focus in specifically on the composition that Immortals crafted and how they found success with it, building around this assassin in the mid lane.
Right. So when you pick something like Victor's not a really safe blind pick mid. It opens yourself up to assassin picks. Like the most obvious ones are Echo, Fizz, and Katarina, right? I think that Immortals, what happens is when you pick an assassin, you also want some coverage for her, whether or not, because she can't be the first one in, so you gotta have someone either initiate for her or make sure that she's healthy enough or has enough shields that way she can initiate herself. So in this game, they overlap the assassin with the Shen and with the Lulu to make sure that if they did CC the Katarina, she would live long enough to where she could still pop off in these team fights.
And they still have potential for engage from Gragas as well. So they do have another character that is comfortable jumping into the fight first if need be.
Yeah, I think that was an important part of the draft was that we saw that they did target a lot of bans at Dardoch. He still got the Gragas, still made a lot of plays in the early game. He went over the wall once. A little surprised to find him on the Krugs there, but then he had another invade in the top side that resulted in a kill. So overall, you know, a lot of people were playing well this game for Immortals.
All right, but the casters were talking about a Zyrene Freak. You know, it was the Flame Pobelter duo, right? And let's look at the mid lane here. Very early on, Shen making a visit, helping Pobelter get rolling on the Katarina, and that's going to catalyze a whole lot of kills coming in for that Katarina as the game rolls.
Like this Ian was actually suicidal. I thought that was really scary, but once he gets a Shadow, he turns around instantly. I think this flash forward is super smart. He gets a perfect ult off the Flame E taunt. It was
delivering Flame closer to them, keeping himself in range for the damage, and then it's off to the races. The 1v1 is very easy at this point.
And if you notice his item build at the very beginning, he went double MR item, Merc Treads as well, Negatron, to make sure that he couldn't get picked off. In a lot of these team fights, look how low he falls. But it doesn't matter because he's built so tanky and has two shields to overlap himself that he's able to stay alive and still be able to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and another thing I like about this team comp is the way it was all set up, starting with a Shen Lulu Kate, that can really transition into a lot of different comps. So I thought that was great overall. And then once they see the Victor, it's kind of like the go to say, let's take an assassin and start trying to run this game over.
I will say though, it's still kind of risky, and especially because you're building around Pobelter, right? The guy who hasn't been playing super well throughout the season. So you're making an entire team comp around the player who's been, for the most part, bottom of the league in his position. However, like this was a great game for Pobelter. He got like started the game 5-0, and Flame was able to assist him super well.
Right, you mentioned that he hasn't been playing well or super well up to this point in the split, but is this kind of transition in strategy maybe what they need in order to unlock him to play better this split? Sometimes it's just simply a playstyle change that can really help a player, you know, return or come into his own, you know, on the Rift.
Yeah, playstyle, confidence, whatever it is, because I think we know Pobelter's a good player. We've seen it for years now. So maybe it is just figuring out what works for him. Stop trying to play exactly the meta. If this counter pick is something he's very confident on and you can build a comp around it, then fine, go for it. I think that's something that can help him a lot moving forward, because we talk about the bottom of this, last playoff spot race. A lot of people are picking up wins. Did grab one. Envy looked really good. Right? So they need to step up.
Yeah, if Immortals gets one here, then things become a heck of a lot more interesting. You know, when we talk about that Katarina pick, it's only made possible given permission because of the Shen and the Lulu coming in. Player of the game gonna go to Flame. You're welcome, Freak. I didn't choose someone other than.
Yeah, you did it, James.
Yeah, yes.
You listened to the earpiece.
You know, going to Flame on that Shen, as they have mentioned. You know, in the earlier weeks of the split, we did have some questions around communication and his ability to join fights quickly. But on Shen, having two different abilities that can bring him into a fight, utilizing those spells well.
The one that really stood out to me was when Dardoch made the invade onto the Elise on the top side. He gets his ultimate onto him, and they turn that fight. And then just seconds later, there's a fight in the bot lane. He TPs down into that one using his actual teleport summoner and turns that fight as well. So overall, I thought just Flame was really in sync with his team this entire game.
And go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, like, I'm gonna go back to the point where he just covers the weaknesses of his team, right? Like the assassin weakness of being not too healthy. Really hard for her to take all ins, especially into exhaust. All the kills that Pobelter did, except for the one solo kill, were made possible because of Flame.
Yeah, real quick, let's flop over to FlyQuest, because this is the team that's on a 3-match slide here, right? If they lose today, that'd be 4 in a row. But this was a team that at the beginning of the split, we were also surprised to see how well they were doing. Give me your thoughts here, you know, as we move into the last couple weeks of the season. FlyQuest, what do they need to change? Where do you expect them to? What's not working? How do they get out of this
I think Moon was a real big surprise at the start of the season, and now that he's kind of like maybe come down back to earth a little bit, I don't think his relative skill has decreased that much, but other junglers have gotten a lot better and teams are starting to work well together a lot more.
I just have to correct myself real quick. I said fourth in a row. Today would be their third in a row. They did beat Envy at the beginning of last week. Even still,
it's like 1 and 4, 1 and 5.
Even still, a number of losses recently for FlyQuest. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, it's just, I think their draft phase really came apart. For a while, we were talking about, oh, these counter picks are so great. It sets them up to do really weird stuff in the draft. It seems like either they got too weird or maybe it was just the meta changing on them. But as soon as people stop having to ban those 3 red side champions, LeBlanc, Rengar, every single game, it feels like they've fallen apart since then.
Yeah, either way, I gotta say, today, looking at the matchups that were on the table, things seemed cut and dry coming in, and now everything's up in the air in terms of the way the games are actually falling on the day of the matches. We'll see if FlyQuest can bounce back after the break. Their Game 2 versus Immortals is coming up when we return.
Hold on.
A lot of damage coming through to Pobutter, but look how much damage he's got. He's going to jump back in onto it. They're going to bring a Shen delivery. He gets the solo kill before it even happens.
He has another reset.
Pobelter's still alive. Moon can't get anything done. Dardoch's coming Ole as well. Pobelter's still alive. Another shield. Balls can't kill it. 3 for 0. Triple kill to Pobelter.
We're gonna win this. Cody, go back mid, I think, and cover the wave, maybe.
You did pick more. You did pick more.
I get at least. I killed my E. Okay, nice. Kill this guy. He has no flash.
Nice.
Holy shit, Eugene. Let's go, dude.
Nice.
Let's go, dude.
Eugene.